Let's look at this poor woman more closely. The throat was slit from left to right. There are 2 incisions. There is a bruise at the level of the right maxilla. There is a bruise on the left cheek. The tongue is swollen. A small pool of blood, 6 inches in diameter. The body was lying on its back, legs straight and slightly apart. The skirt had been lifted up to the middle of the body. The left hand was touched. The body was still warm. Let's reread the preliminary report. There is a black bonnet near the left hand. No marks on the ground. The ground is muddy. No signs of blood. There is only one streetlight lit on this street, Watson, and this spot is particularly poorly lit.
This spot is deserted, Holmes. The prostitutes...
Well, Watson, we have found all of the possible clues, I think. We will now attempt to recreate the scene of the murder. Come closer, Watson. I have to make you...
You are joking, Holmes? I feel ridiculous.
Now, Watson, come and stand here in front of me. You shall play the role of the poor woman and I shall play that of the murderer. Let's try to reconstruct the facts to ensure the final result corresponds indisputably to the way that Polly Nichols was killed. The murderer had enough room to inflict the wounds. I hope that, as with the real murder, nobody had to witness all of that, Watson. If the murderer used his right hand astride his victim... Yes, it's quite possible the events occurred like this. My dear Watson, now that we have found all of our clues, nothing remains but to subject... The victim was most probably dead before being laid down. Once the heart stopped, gravity drained the body slowly, not in a heavy spurt that would have stained half the street.
Thank you, Holmes. I understand.
The victim's ordeal was even more discreet. By acting in silence, the victim and her murderer were able to come here without making any noise. And so, my dear Watson, the day and night which we passed in Whitechapel were enlightening, weren't they?
And
We have little to go on, at least no more than the police. But in my opinion, Inspector Aberline has a trick on. We know where the crime was committed and under what...
revenge, Holmes?
Revenge could be a possible motive, but with one small reservation. We have reason to believe that the victim considered...
A personal drama.
Love can certainly lead to many a drama.
Theft, perhaps.
I have a hard time...
Homicidal insanity.
It is indubitable that the man who did this to Polly Nichol... Elementary. Very well, Watson. I think that we've exhausted the topic. Take a rest and we'll speak again later.
Ah, it would seem that the investigation is advancing, Holmes.
I was about to join you in your optimistic...
But surely they wouldn't invent the fact that...
You will have an exact answer to these two questions in less than 50 seconds, Watson.
Pardon?
Enter, Inspector.
Good day.
Dear Watson, allow me to introduce Inspector Aberline. Inspector Dr. Watt.
Inspector?
To what do we owe the honour of your presence?
I heard that the two of you made your way to Whitechapel a few days ago. Your arrival, you are aware, coincides with a very serious affair which our...
Pardon me, but haven't you arrested someone?
Absolutely not. The man who hides behind this name is indeed being actively searched for by the force.
There, you've been enlightened, Watson. Now it is our turn to answer
Indeed. I will be brief and precise. Do you intend to investigate this?
It is to be of service to a friend that I went to Whitechapel. Having not been officially appointed by a client, I believe that my intervention in this business will end there.
Very well. To be frank, you take the weight off my Our image isn't very good. To say nothing...
And they would pester me, overwhelm me. I will send you a note regarding my
With pleasure.
Do you think that he will find the murderer?
The chances are slim to non-existent.
And you will not go further?
You heard the Inspector, Watson. My presence in Whitechapel would hinder...
How is that?
The Inspector spoke of me, but not of us. It is you, Watson, who will lead the investigation tonight. It is you who will bring to the police station the little note that I will write regarding our conclusions. Despite the late hour, there is nothing to stop you from making inquiries about this famous leather apron while...
Well, if I follow Holmes's instructions, then to begin my investigation into this leather apron, I must first head to the police station. Good evening, sir. What do you... Indeed. I have come to... Very well, I will pass it on. Ah, perhaps... Actually, I read in the Star. You shouldn't believe what you read in the... Why ever not? Bah, he's a specialist in the streetwalker racket. How to get on his train. One of these girls would have to confide in... Well, goodbye. I must go to Finley's boarding. I must go to Finley's boarding house. Good evening, Finley.
Oh, good evening, sir. Aren't you the gentleman who was with the great detective?
That is indeed... Tell me, Finley, I was told that you were looking for us.
Indeed, I wanted to thank you for last time, you know. That vagrant has never set foot round my...
Tell me, have you heard talk...
By the papers, that's...
Do you know any journeymen?
The slaughterhouse butchers, I believe, but definitely the cobblers. I know one, old Isaac Solomonovich. His workshop is on a small street in the Jewish... He's a good man. He can help you.
Tell me, have you heard talk...
By the paper...
Do you know any journeymen?
The slaughter... He's a good man. He...
Thank you, Finley.
At your service. What do you want?
Tell me, have you heard...
By the paper...
Do you know any journey...
The slaughterhouse... He's a good man.
Thank you, Finley.
At your... What?
You don't seem very happy, but you were lucky to have found...
It's just that this man is very... And when he moved in, something must have broken in his case and stank up the stairs in his room for 2 days. I think it was a jar. It must be over there.
Thank you, Finley.
At your...
This odour is very strong indeed, but the whole neighbourhood as such has a dreadful stench.
What do you want?
You're right, the pieces of the...
It's true.
Yes, and...
A doctor, like yourself, I believe.
Dr. Tumble. Tell me, have you heard talk...
By...
Do you know any...
He's a good...
Thank you, Finley.
At your service.
Oh, it's you. Dr. Watson.
Well, and yourself?
Oh, he sleeps a lot, but he doesn't seem to be suffering. Your medicine has worked wonders.
It was the least I could. Thank you, miss.
Oh, it's you was great. Yes, Doctor?
I have come to see you about a certain...
Oh, yes, of course.
Have you ever come...
Goodness gracious, no. But I know that he has threatened and taken many girls in my...
I have come to see you about...
Oh,
Have you...
goodness gracious.
Who is Bella?
Bella Pullman. She...
Please do.
I must leave to return to my uncle.
Can I get a refill, please?
If you'd be patient, Madam Bella...
Good evening. I am Dr. Watson. It is young Lucy.
Ah, so you're the Good Samaritan who saved her?
It's not that, ma'am. You should know.
And why should that matter?
I believe there has been a
Are you a doctor?
I am most certainly...
Well, if you're able to rid us of him, I'll... And as soon as they're finished with the client, and his face...
Why did you let Margie go?
The poor girl. So I gave her no...
Did you speak to the police?
What would they do?
Would you have received a visit from another doctor?
I'm just like you.
Would you have received a visit from another doctor?
I'm just like you, Doctor. Sworn to secrecy in my profession. But as I've taken a fancy to you, I can tell you that this name is not unknown to me. And if you do me a little favour, it is possible I might remember something about him.
What kind of favour?
You see that man over there? He's a rich... He threatened to call the police unless he got free services. I'll be forced to accept, unwillingly.
Did you question the residents?
They didn't see anything.
Who was in the room when you...
There were a few that came and went.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
What happened?
No,
I heard that there was a theft yesterday.
no, and I was here the hour...
Until next time, miss.
With pleasure, sir.
A large, black...
Yes, sir.
Who delivers the coal?
It's never the same person. I never...
Who delivers the coal?
It's never the same person.
Until next time, miss.
With pleasure.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my dear man.
None of the residents of this...
Oh, you're not here as a doctor, but as a...
Your way of speaking about these women is not that of... I heard that you were the victim of a...
Oh, I'm not complaining. The loss of that walking stick will certainly bring me a...
What does your cane look like?
The stick is ebony, about 35 inches long. The round knob is made from chiseled silver with a ring around the middle of the same work.
Well, goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, or until next...
Very cool.
Here you go.